Knights at the Round Table, a round table discussion on speculative fiction books and film.
Hi everybody, welcome to the next episode of Knights at the Round Table as I fall off my chair. Today we are discussing the book The Fall of the Kings by Kushner and Delia Sherman. I'm sitting at the table here with Nathan, and I'd like to start general impressions with the book.
This is one of my favorite books. It's probably my favorite book of the series, and it's a series that I love. I've loved for a long time now. And rereading it, it's still one of my favorites.
So this is the first time I've ever read it. I adore anything that has to do with myth and ritual. This one seems to be pulled directly from Arthurian sort of myth, the Stag King and the making of kings, etc., which I really loved. Also, there are a lot of themes, not so many themes, but there are a lot of things in the book that I very much like. And what my favourite character, who, spoiler alert, ends up getting dead. He's killed. But
poor Basil.
Yes, literally a third of the way through the book, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, I am Basil. Right up until he became a wizard.
I bet you didn't know how much you cared about that fake history and how right he was.
Oh, that university, honestly, because I was a naive little twit, that would be the university experience I wanted to have. When I went to university, I was expecting sort of this hallowed place of learning, and it was quite a shock to find out that I was just a number and they didn't give a shit what happened to my brain.
Mm.
Yeah, I want that university.
I know.
I want it to be real, damn it. I want to go flicking through the archives for ancient pieces of paper. Damn it!
It's awesome because in Source Point, the first in that series, this is actually the third in the series.
Oh, it's the third?
It's the third, but every book can be read standalone, and they weren't even written in the order that they are in.
Right.
Like this was written second, I think, but it's still the third in the series. In the first book, one of the main characters is a student at university, and he keeps ranting about how like the stars and everything is revolving around the sun, and it has a lot of these like ancient university feel to it, and like the battle for true knowledge.
Yes, and how that is acquired.
Yeah.
Which seems perfectly reasonable to us, but honestly, a lot of early scholarly discourse was relying on second, third, fourth-hand accounts and not at all going back to the source material, so it all felt very true to life, like super grounded in reality, even though it's clearly some other world that has a stag king.
And true magic.
God, I was mad when Basil got killed.
I know, he was the like...
But I'm like, oh, the last wizard though! He was just becoming a wizard!
I know!
No!
And he was right about the crown as king. Anyways, we should probably go back to the beginning.
Well, I'm not going to run through the whole plot. I really like how in this world sexuality is treated. Like, all manner of consensual sexual attraction is just part of the world and perfectly normal, and I like that it was treated as such.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not a big deal was made if your lover happened to be male and you were a guy. Or, like, they were talking about how in the noble families, for example, a lot of the noble men would marry, but then have mistresses on the side, sometimes misters. And a lot of the noble women would marry and have a lot of misters on the side, sometimes mistresses. And it was just perfectly normal and natural, which, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Not the mistresses part, I mean,
as long as everybody's consenting and everything.
yeah, as long as, essentially, yeah.
Which you often have these, like, these arrangements, and, like, the married parties are perfectly aware that this is going on, and it's all good.
Yeah, because, marriage is not about love, unless you're Sophia. It's a contract, which marriage was, and to some extent still is.
Yeah, it was about passing of titles and land and ownership and property.
And forming alliances and that kind of thing. It had nothing to do with whether or not you were in love with... Yeah, it was all politics.
Which okay, the main character Theron really gets to experience, and he's a romantic at heart. And when he falls in love, he falls completely in love.
Absolutely and utterly, and it's funny.
It's ridiculous because he falls in love with 3 different people in this book. Not at the same time. Well, there's Isolde that it starts with, where he's completely in love with that painter.
Yes, and then it's Basil.
And then Basil. And then there's a brief moment where he's actually convinced that he's completely in love with Genevieve.
Oh, but it's like half a paragraph, and then it's the rest of it is he's clearly trying to make himself fall in love with Genevieve. Yeah. I have to ask, are there any other books with Francesca in it?
Francesca?
She's the young authoress who makes friends with Erin in the library.
Oh, unfortunately.
Not? Ah, damn, because she was such an... I mean, she was a very minor character in this book, but I feel like there could be a lot done
Unless she pops up in one of the... No, because it's a prequel. So no, unfortunately. Because that's the last... Like, chronologically speaking, that's the very last of all the Trem and Ten books.
Okay.
Like, Trem and Ten, the series, is set before Swords Point.
Yeah.
And then there's Swords Point, Privilege of the Sword, and Fall of the Kings. And
Right.
So far.
That's such a shame, because other than Basil, this chubby little writer...
She was awesome, yeah.
You're me. I would like to follow her a little bit. Also, I really liked Jessica.
Yeah.
The pirate.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Oh, she's so good.
She's really awesome. And how, like, she goes to Isolde and just seduces her.
I know! Just seduces her, gets all the paintings.
All the paintings, and then Isolde's like, I would have you back, but you're too rich for my taste.
Yeah! Oh, God. That was great.
It really was.
She's really good.
But one of the things that got me through this book, and every time that I reread it, is how much I care about the theory that they're discussing.
Right?
Right. At some point you're yelling at Crabbe, like, you incompetent scholar! He has, like, the true texts and everything. Yeah. You can't even go back to the...
I know, he's going back to the source material. This is how it's supposed to be done, Crabbe, and... STFU with your politicking trying to get the horn chair. Also the horn chair. Sorry.
So through the book, Basil is a teacher at a university, and he's researching the ancient kings and everything. And one of his passions is to actually go in the vaults and dig up the original texts of everything that he's looking for. Whereas most of the other scholars rely on secondhand accounts, like things that were written hundreds of years after the events actually happened, and all that. And
considering those accounts sort of infallible somehow.
Mm-hmm. And at some point in the book, Basil actually issues an academic challenge to Crabbe, who's his main, antagonist, I guess.
His main rival, I think.
His main rival,
in the academic sphere.
Yeah, exactly. To debate, and he actually tries to endeavor to prove that the wizards, who the nobles, so going back still, hundreds of years ago, the nobles killed all of the wizards and all of the kings because the kings were mad and, the wizards were corrupt. And the nobles conveniently took over leadership of the city. And it made it illegal to speak of magic. Of course, this is hundreds of years ago, and everybody's like, oh, whatever, magic is just old wives' tales, so it doesn't matter, and it's harmless to talk about it. And Basil decides to prove that the wizards were actually true wizards, and that they could do true magic, because he's found a wizard's book, and he's actually started to work some spells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, yes. God, those spells.
And they're subtle, and he's never actually sure that they're working. Until
they work, and he's like, holy crap!
Yeah.
That's a thing. I liked that about the magic system, is that it wasn't like fireworks and lightning shows. Mm-hmm. It was, here's the spell. Well, that was a bit anticlimactic. Holy shit, the spell worked! What's going on? Yes, I enjoyed that about that.
Yeah.
Stop with the noises. Sorry, guys. Sorry to the headphone users. So yeah, I did like the magic system in this world. I liked that it was sort of more described as magic returning.
Mm-hmm.
And that the separation of the wizards from the south, who were taught in the south, versus what happened in the north, is sort of vaguely responsible for the magic sort of diminishing and the wizards becoming more political manipulators than they were advisors and aides and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the difference between the students who are coming from the north and the students who are native to the south, because the students who are native from the north have kept all of these traditions alive in their tales and in
their festivals.
Exactly.
And
like their rituals that they do at different times during the year. Whereas the students from the south are just like, oh, well, you know, this is all poppycock.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I liked, they mentioned that there's the cult of the Green Man. I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Hungry?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The cult of the Green Man. There weren't too many other mentions of other gods, but they did mention that there were other gods in this world, and I highly suspect that we would recognize those gods in this world, because they all seem to come from sort of the mythos, Celtic / English / mishmash that became Arthurian myth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was great. It was absolutely great. I really enjoyed that part. And I appreciate the authors very much, because they turned what could be sort of a very dry academic back and forth into something pretty high stakes and really, really fascinating. That might be my bias, because I enjoy that kind of thing.
I admit I enjoy that kind of thing too, but I feel that there was enough passion and action in this book to really keep the momentum of the story moving forward. Even though there's a lot of, like, you know, research this and debate this and you know, digging through vaults and everything, it never feels like, you never feel like it stops.
Yeah, you're never stuck in the research.
Exactly.
Which, if you don't like research or don't like what you're researching, it can often feel like a massive slog.
Mm-hmm.
This felt like you were enjoying your research, and so even though it was research, you're having a lot of fun with it.
Exactly. Even though, in truth, Basil is not having a lot of fun all the time, because there is a lot of difficulties to do what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's searching and searching and searching.
Well, also he's taking on the entire academic establishment.
Yes.
That's never easy, from experience. But yeah, it was, I really liked how, I guess maybe it was the writing style, turned what could have been something very, very dry and academic into something really, really interesting. And it wasn't just like the academics of it, it was the personalities clashing, and things that felt like they would actually happen.
Yes.
In our world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was there anything about the book that you particularly disliked?
Not particularly, actually. Not me.
Nope, me either. Actually, this book moves really well, despite a lot of it. I'm going to keep using the word academia. Take a shot every time I say the word academia, or academic. Despite it being about academia and academic life, really. Sorry, I'm Eric behind the camera taking a sip every time I say academia and academic. Brilliant. What was I saying now that Eric's distracted me?
The characters were so well written.
Yes, and the style of writing was really pleasant.
But even the minor characters, like the students, you know, like Vandeleur and everything, you're just, you get attached so much, and even though they should be, not they should be, but they usually would be sort of like a mass of secondary characters that you don't really care about, but you get invested in like who they fall in love with, and
yes, and they're all each quite individual, which is nice. Like they're not some amorphous mass titled secondary characters. I really like that. I loved Blake.
Yes.
Justice Blake.
Justice Blake, he was awesome.
What a steady, intelligent young man. Because I'm 90. I just caught myself sounding old. Sorry. And even when I disliked the characters, it was for their character, not because they were badly written.
No, exactly. Like Galen.
Oh god, yeah. What a snake.
Yeah, but he's completely believable, and you know, you understand his motivations, you know, spurious though they may be.
Yeah, and you know people who are ambitious the way that he is ambitious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Henry, what a melodramatic tit.
And yet, he makes perfect sense, too.
Yeah, he makes perfect sense,
yeah.
too. And even manages a small redemption arc, so
Yeah.
I appreciate that about him. And Lyndall, also.
Yeah.
Lyndall made me smile, in particular, because I guess basically all of these characters are me, but sort of the connection he has with the culture that he has sort of an ancestral link to, but is quite removed from,
Mm-hmm.
and then he jumps in, like, feet
Head over
first into
heels,
the whole, into the whole culture thing. That's basically me.
And what I found really cool about him is you get the feeling at first that he's all doing it because he's fallen in love with a boy, and then when the boy that he's fallen in love with fails to live up to the standards that this particular society has put upon him, he rejects him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about the boy, it's about the culture, and it's about belonging.
Yeah, and it's about where he feels, or where he's pulled to, I guess.
Exactly.
The thing. I totally felt that, because that's also me. Yeah. Oh, but it also speaks a little bit to, because some of the champions of the king, or companions of the king, beg your pardon, were quite extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a little scary.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, what I really like is, you know, you root for this monarchy to come back and for the kings and everything, but there is a certain current of insanity running through all of it.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like, they're talking about the mad kings, the mad kings, the mad kings, and you're like, well, yeah, they must have been pretty mad if, like, this was their system.
Yep.
And yet, you still root for it.
Yes and no. See, I think they did a really good job at creating that sort of grey. Yeah, some of the kings were terrible.
Yeah.
Some of them were decent. Some of them were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it as a system of governance, it's not any better or worse than the Council of Nobles.
Absolutely.
And the only reason, really, you're rooting for the return of the king...
It's just because you love Theron so much, and Basil.
Yes, it's because you love Theron and Basil so much.
Yeah.
Although, poor Theron, he was such a mess by the end.
Oh my god, yeah.
Just...
Poor kid.
Yeah. How old is he? Not quite 20, right?
Something like that.
Something
I think he
like
was
that.
19.
Yeah, underage in any case.
Yeah.
For marriage, etc.
Yeah. But, yeah, he's just like... And everybody thinks he's this big mastermind, because he's clearly the king. But... he's just like this kid who wants to have fun and wants to go to university because he thinks it's cool and keeps falling in love with terrible people. Well, terrible for him anyway.
Well, yeah. And he's just really just being thrown around by various
everybody.
manipulators. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just bouncing around between factions. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's like a game of ping pong, but...
And he's trying so hard to assert his own personality and his own wants and needs and everything, and everybody keeps just, like, pushing him in these directions, and... I
think part of his problem is his nature is fighting against his responsibility.
Yeah.
As heir of House Tremontaine, he has all of these things that he has to do, but he's not a duke.
No.
He's basically a rogue. Like...
Yeah, he is.
It would be like me trying to, I don't know, join the military.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work. I don't take orders very well. At all.
Yeah.
Move this sandbag over here, but why? Because I told you to, but why?
What is the purpose?
What is the point? There needs to be a point or I'm not moving.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work for me. Yeah, so I imagine it quite like that for him, where being a duke requires a certain amount of, or certain kinds of behavior and has certain restrictions that I think it would be like trying to fit a stone into a pretzel mold. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
For Theron.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
But I mean, anything that deals with mythology and folklore will immediately have my attention. Also, I did like Theron's mother.
Oh, she's so good. Sophia, yeah. She's amazing.
Yes. Yes, she is. I
Yeah.
like how she just bullied her way into the university.
Oh,
No, I am
absolutely.
a doctor of surgery, thank you.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, then they're like, oh, you're just a midwife, you know, like, go back to, like, no, she's a surgeon.
She's a surgeon.
Yeah.
And she's teaching women. Like, all of her students were women.
Yeah.
Basically the only part of the university that permitted women, really.
Yeah.
Which, again, fantastic. Love Sophia.
Yeah, she's so amazing.
Also love that she tended to the sick and poor in Riverside. And
Yeah. No, she's a great character.
it's a shame I didn't see more of her, actually. There's a criticism of the book. It needed more Sophia.
I will send you a short story that features her prominently.
Yes, please.
If anyone wants to find it, it's called The Man with the Knives, and it can be found online because I think the author Ellen Kushner posted it somewhere.
Oh yeah, like free to read.
Free to read, yeah.
Thank you, Ellen Kushner.
So,
I appreciate that.
and it's all about how she met her husband, who was Theron's father.
Oh, the Duke.
The Duke, who was one of the main characters of Source Point and another prominent character in Privilege of the Sword.
Right, so I'm guessing Swords Point and Privilege of the Sword are before he was
Yes.
disgraced and then he ran away to Kairos.
Well, no, actually.
Oh.
Well, yes. It's complicated.
Okay! Excellent.
They're all standalone things, so read them in any which order.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to start... I'm not going to start at all. We've started a long time ago. General impression... Oh, my lord!
More coffee.
Okay, in my defense, I was up quite late last night. And I had to finish this book this morning, so I was up very early this morning. Finishing it. I've only had it for months. Thanks for lending it.
You're welcome.
God. Final thoughts and star rating.
This book has been one of my favorite books. It shall remain 5 out of 5 stars, solid for me.
Okay, so 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed the book. I would definitely be adding this to my bookshelf when I get a proper library. I'm just going to start stacking books on the stairs. It's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely.
Whatever. Read this book, is what I'm saying. It was a good one. Especially for those of you who like Arthurian myth, by the way. It would be a really good book. Next.
Oh, Hidden Masters of Marandor by Jack Campbell. It's the sequel to the one we did,
Dragons of Dorcastle.
Dragons of Dorcastle.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Okay, good.
You will enjoy
Yay!
the series.
Yes. The Hidden Masters of Marandor by Jack Campbell. We will be discussing that next month. If you have any thoughts about the Fall of Kings, or anything that we said today, do leave them down in the comments below. I will lurk. Probably. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye!